go live. Let's try it out. Let's try it out. All right. I think we're live. Hello. I just want to check some settings really quick, but welcome to our first Policy Angle show, everyone. Exciting new content and new positive impact innovation for the new year, bringing people's voice and to policy by breaking down different barriers to access and the knowledge for changing things through the legislature, at least here in Colorado, where I live and focus on mostly. So let me check some settings really quick. And you will know. You will know more soon. So I go over here, YouTube, on my phone, and I look for my live button. Don't forget. I think the music's a little loud. It's a jam though. All right, turn it down a little bit there, and then we'll turn it a little bit down here. Don't forget your standard moderator. Yep, I sure am. Awesome. I will put that down so that won't be a distraction. My cellular telephone. Things look good. If audio isn't great, let me know. But the audio, from my quick glance in the video, seems to be fine. We seem to be live. Welcome to our policy stream, everyone. How are y'all doing? Let's do a quick check-in. Let's give some time for people to trickle in. This is the first one, so this one might be a little bit more cozy, a little bit less live interaction. I did a little bit of flyering past 2 days, and I put up the post earlier this morning. Some aspects of this, I want to do something in this realm, but only recently settled on the weekly show and the time last weekend, and so working to get the marketing materials together, how I wanted to structure things, how I wanted to involve the community, and the vision of where this is going to go. Those are all parts that I was working on this week while doing some other work. And so maybe humble beginnings, but we shall see where this all goes, and if we can help usher in some impact when it comes to policy this legislative session. I can throw up what our agenda is for today, so you can take a look and decide for yourself if you want to stick around, if you want to watch later, and if this is something that you might be interested in even getting involved with. So I can push this nice little button, and then I move to the corner, and I can move myself around just a little, so you can see our agenda for today. Before we went live today, we started with a little bit of a warm-up over on Facebook, where we're gonna do a pre-show. Helps us test settings, helps us bring more people over to our YouTube, where we have less subscribers and followers, and I think just helps set the mood for this longer show. And that went smooth. I think we were live for about 20 minutes. We did a little bit of troubleshooting. And here we are. First stream of the year, actually. So cheers to that. Yeah. Feel free to jump into the chat. Things are live there. I have live chat on, so I can take a look over on my left screen, and it looks like everything's running us smoothly. So maybe we'll just jump into it. Let me pick more of a chill song. This one seems chill. You might not be. Let me turn it up just a little. All right, y'all. Let's loop it. Let's get into it. So what is this Policy the Angles show? Where's some of the inspiration come from? What are we planning to do? And how does it fit into the larger community-driven group? Not process, community-driven vision and picture. And let me switch back over to full screen so I can get comfy with you all as we talk about what we're trying to do here. How many of you are active and feel well informed that you're able to take part in the policy making process? Technically, yes, we are a republic. We elect officials who we put up there to make these decisions. But these are only one people plus, I guess, their staff. And often the people who have their ear or are most around and able to try to convince them or work with them happens to be lobby groups. It happens to be groups that have the funds to bring on full-time people to continually have those conversations, to bring in experts and bring people into the process. Now, there's a number of nonprofits that also work to do this, and individual citizens. But overall, there isn't really a platform or way for everyday people to kind of have a live discussion and take a look at what's going on. A lot of the process is complicated, and it took me even years to fully understand it and take part in different parts of the process. So here with our Policy the Angles show, we want to break down those barriers, and we want to lift up policies that can have an impact in your lives, in lives across the state, and push through the kind of hold that lobby groups can have to really have this nuanced discussion and get more people involved. And so that is the inspiration for this show. I chose the angles. I was looking for something that showcased that we're bringing in different perspectives, and that we're not just looking at one issue or topic. And angles as they are in regards to shapes, and also just is a degree of interest or a degree in a direction from like the mathematical side, let alone the perspective side. And I thought that would be a fun thing to play with. And is this entry point for people to get involved? I played around with like a few ideas, but I liked this one, and we can play with geometry a little bit. I'm not actually that great at math. Like, I can rock a spreadsheet decently well, but I think my lowest grade in high school was geometry, funny enough. So maybe we'll do some learning, maybe we'll do some math along the way, but that is kind of the background here in what this show is trying to make happen. Now, longer term vision, I think this could be a really good outlet for bringing in politicians' voice, for bringing in community leaders and experts. And in the future, some of our segments can be done collaboratively and actually be a back and forth discussion, not only in the chat where you can, as an everyday person, add your opinion and share links, but even deeper dive into some of these topics, and then lifting up some of these ideas in ways everyday people can get involved. So we're breaking barriers, and we're bringing community together. So over time, I plan to send out emails, allow politicians to know that they can send in videos describing policies they are working on. In some circumstances, having that live discussion of where is the policy heading and what can people do to support it. And share clips and expert testimony and data that you might not get if you're just perusing the website or have had a short conversation with someone about a bill. We know this, and I don't have a graphic ready, but public sentiment and the things that get passed at government level, these things are not necessarily correlated, and there's actually a pretty huge percentage gap in the things that get done between those two things. And so we really do need to innovate and come up with tools that change that. And while you can say some of that is the campaigning process, getting the right politician who is grounded, who listens to people over profit or corporations, and isn't just trying to win political points and market themselves as a certain thing, but actually stand on certain values, principles, and votes. And that's kind of this first part of the year. Because elections, while some primaries and elections are heating up, we're in the right now in the part where we get to see where votes and politicians stand, so that we can be more informed on the campaign side later. Here in Colorado, our legislative session goes till, I think it's May 8th. And so we have this platform to build up that will allow us to better understand where politicians truly lie at that Colorado legislature level. And excited to see where this goes. and it ties into the overall community-driven group focus. So I guess I'll just give a background on community-driven group. If you're watching this, hello, you've made it to our page. Welcomes. This even longer than I've been on YouTube and the other social media platforms. I have been working as an activist since 2016, when I thought Trump could be elected president. I had to come to grips with the fact that I wasn't very politically involved. And since then have been slowly learning about how our system works. And then in 2019, 2020, more of the formation of seeing that there's so many different nonprofits and organizations pushing to have positive impact. And of course there's ones that are more after the financial impact and profit and negative things, but there were so many groups on the positive side, but so many of them were also siloed. And wanting to create an organization whose bigger purpose was actually to be a connector of these organizations. So an org that helps connect orgs and leaders. This started with a website and a blog, and exploring what the needs were, and coming up with the idea for an organization and social enterprise that can help bring together positive leaders across groups, and lift up the brightest ideas for change. And then COVID happened, and some of my ideas went into the trash. There's not actually a trash can over there, but metaphoric trash. And had to kind of go to rethink things. Updated my website some more. Figured it out, but really didn't get too much going. There was a lot I wanted to do, but at the same time there was a lot I was still learning. For example, wasn't confident in front of a camera. Didn't even have a good, decent camera or setup to go live, even if I was confident. Still making connections into our local system here in Colorado and what some of the needs were. And while I was working on that and exploring, I of course had other jobs, other things I was doing. And only in the past 6-7 months have I returned to community-driven group and updated yet again, and saw it as like the vehicle it could be to push meaningful change. And like personally, I don't want to be fighting these fights forever. I want to live in a more abundant, just, equitable world. And I want a safe future for kids and people just living today. We're already seeing an increase in climate disasters, world conflicts, and economic and financial stress. But I think we're at a point with technology, with the internet, with leaps and bounds in agriculture and green energy, that it's not that the solutions don't exist. Many of them do. It's just about the changing the structure so that it puts the needs of people above the needs of profits and corporations. And a huge bottleneck is the media. Mainstream media and social media platforms incentivize high drama, high divisive topics rather than solutions. And it's because these media and tech companies profit off drama and bad things happening. And I think we're at a point where we can collectively say, and there's enough voices out there, that we want a different system. And so my big push is to create a model for that change. And while my show is focused here on Colorado, this is a template I'm making that people, regardless of where you are in the world, can copy and use for your local community. Maybe it's a county thing, maybe it's your school district, maybe you live in a large city and you're tired of seeing certain issues like homelessness or climate disasters or war affect your family and your loved ones and your community. I, as just one person, only have so much perspective and knowledge, but together we can do so much more. And so my big dream is that though I have this focus on Colorado with a lot of what I do, the fact is I'm putting so much of my stuff out there for free and make it accessible and sharing how I'm doing things, that you can do something similar where you are. And I'm already kind of in that community-driven group background. So just to give more information, community-driven group is a social enterprise, which really just means it's an LLC or business with a purpose. I considered for a while going down the nonprofit route, but there were some barriers to what I was trying to do by going that route, let alone some of the issues with the nonprofit industrial complex. But nonprofits have a it's a pretty strict line on what they're allowed to do politically with their voice, and what they're able to do when it comes to lobbying for different legislation, that I wanted to build something else. I also wanted to create a model where people who helped support early in the process with time or by investing in us could later down the line have that be reciprocated back through dividends and by being a shared owner and supporter of community driven. It also allows us to build products and sell things to make profit so that we can reinvest back into what we're doing. And there's definitely different ways profit can manifest. There's definitely the financial ways and what that allows you to invest back into and produce. For example, we could do bigger events and bring in guests and have further reach if we have that engine running. But also in terms of people and the planet, we can use our voice to have positive impact that way. And so some of the products we are looking at building this year are educational courses that are in the $5 to $20 price range, something that's accessible, that people of different ages and geographies can get or be donated those courses to for rather cheap, but it can have a huge impact. So working on a course around intro to activism and mental health in the modern day. We have more ideas, and we have built out outlines of what we're building there. And additionally, we're working on a card game, so we can get creative and fun. The interesting part of where we're at is typically for education or positive impact, like people can be drawn to these issues for personal reasons, for family reasons, for things they see happening in their environment. A lot of people, though, are overwhelmed by all the things you need to know to get involved. And so with courses and games, we can use entertainment and these other methods and fun to bring people and share with them and get them involved in how things work. So I can share briefly a little bit more through our website. So if I click this, we go back. Let's mix it up with the music. This is copyright-free music, which is what you gotta use if you're on the stream, YouTubes. And this, I know most. Some jazz. Okay. All right, so let's give a quick walkthrough of our website. We'll go back to the homepage, which has a big picture of me on it. Impact community and creativity in service to the world. Links to our socials. A video that gives more background on our business model and the money we are raising. You can learn more about us, see community index, see our business model. We'll just start with our about page. So Community Driven Group is a social impact organization with the goal of bringing people together around the brightest leaders, communities, ideas, and solutions for positive impact, growth, and experiences. People want to create a better future through learning, imagination, and passion. Come join and get involved with community-driven movement. We're bringing together experts, skill builders, and local leaders, and we can help lead towards the future we believe is possible. With a link to our business model. Learning about environmental studies and the state of our planet led me to desire growth and perspective as a way to come up and figure out my unique spot in all this. That growth led to learning about many things from education, frameworks, storytelling, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Eventually, politics rose up to me as one of the biggest levers for change and this positive change that exists. Many of the ideas, projects, communities, and work that we do does thus tie into politics, policy, and the organizing of people to create and be inspired by the best positive paths forward. 2024 vision. This is a picture of Colorado, beautiful mountains. By me. 2024 vision. We're tripling down on think global and act local by focusing on the Colorado area, while at the same time creating trainings, community, and tools for positive change makers regardless of location. And we're in a video game now with this music. How about this song? I like this one. Let's play this one on loop. That's a little bit more chilly. In the first third of 2024, we'll be growing our channel with media around the general session. You're here. Policy, education, leadership. Alongside our media content, we'll be playing streams, events, courses, and tools to help people explore and understand and engage positive change. Our mission: organize a mass movement of people and organizations towards a renaissance of unity, innovative smart change, and heart-centeredness / empathy. I've been using empathy more lately because some people are unclear what heart-centeredness means, which I guess makes sense. It's not an often used term. I think it just means like grounding into love and empathy, but I need to update this because I've been using empathy more lately. That embodies and creates justice, abundance, wellness, and unlocked potential for the world and 7 generations plus. This shows back in the day where our values and impact was going, with an emphasis on media creation, an online classroom, rallying people together, and being open about what we're doing. And is the seed that has led us to where we are now. If you're interested in learning about our business model, I have the link there. Also on our website, we have this cool section that we've been slowly building out that shows local groups that are doing their own positive change. So it was an awesome place to start if you are wanting to get involved and have a certain area of interest like climate or reproductive rights. And there is a way for people to submit communities to this page. And then we have our blog, news, which has our 2024 plan at Denver. There's many blog posts, but you'll understand how that works. But this most recent one is talking about more of what we plan to do this year. And to help us in this effort, we are, yes, raising money, and creating more content, and reaching out to people to work with. Included in that is you can be included in that long-term vision by investing with small dollar donations and by giving to us, like typical investment process. But we also want to give ways where if you want to dedicate time, you can also have a share of future dividends, and in that success through a work and help own proposal, which I have more details on this Google document. But that is the community-driven background. I'll share this page more later, but goes more into detail into our background, into the opportunities, and what we're raising money for, which is events and more product creation and media. I don't think I have anything else. I can show off our YouTube page really quickly. We are live. Whoop, whoop. 27 subscribers, 66 videos. We have pages across social media. I should add a TikTok one here, because we're also on TikTok. And that is a community-driven background. If this seems like something that you'd be interested in learning more about, we have more videos, we have more information on our website, and happy to hear what you're passionate about and what draws you to what we're doing. I felt like I had to do that because this is the first Policy Angles show. this might be the first time you're seeing a video of mine or a live stream. And so before jumping into what's happening this year in Colorado, I just felt like it was important to share all these details. And we will transition into our next point. Should I put a little arrow to track how we're doing? We are here. We are here. All right. We are here and we are chilling. And the connection, it says, is excellent. Cool. Let me just double check that no notifs. Perfect. I'm gonna do this. Oh. Some lumbar back support, maybe. All right. All right, I think, we're on point 3, so we're on pace for maybe a 2-hour stream, maybe hour and a half-ish. Just exercising earlier, but I kind of rushed the cool down and the stretch. We might make this a standing desk here in a moment, but all right, let's go to the next song, and let's pick a song that we hope be good ambiance for our next section. No, that's kind of playful, but this is a chill vibe. Cool. Okay. So how does the Colorado legislature work? From lessons in high school, you might kind of have that background about how the national and federal level works. There is the House and then there's the Senate, and they must pass bills for it to go to the next level, for it to get signed into being a thing. Not all states work that way, and as we can see from our federal government, sometimes not many bills get passed because there is this divisive back and forth and push for power where sometimes the choice is made to win political points rather than pass things for people. And stream, I'm going to do that one more time so that I have good video later, because if you did not know, I kind of put these segments together so they can be bite chunk videos later, just behind the scenes. And I think this is a very important video and topic to cover. And I want, I guess, the full screen me rather than a mini me to do the intro. So hold on one sec. I also want to change the lights. I look very red and pink. I swear I'm not this red and pink, and I don't know if it's my white balance settings. Or I have these green lights on, and maybe, in my camera I don't look so pink. Let's try properties, configure video. Should I do it as a blue person? No. I think we go just a little bit this direction and we're good. Perfect. All right, cool. Started back up. Perfect. All right. So how does the Colorado legislature work? We have a background from high school around the federal government and how things are done. There's a House and there's a Senate, and they both work on bills that need to get passed by both so that they can be brought up to the president to be signed into law. Now, not all states work that way. Some states just have one body, and each state is actually different. But here in Colorado, we have that same structure. We have a House and we have a Senate, and then bills are brought up to the governor to sign. Now, if all you track is the federal level, you might just kind of see how little bills get passed and worked on. There's very little that actually goes through both chambers to be signed. And often things are crunched together into a big bill so that if you have a problem with it, it is harder to pull things out, and it's easier to sneak things in. Now, often there are things that improve people's lives, and then there are things that win people political points. And these are hurdles to the political process that in some areas are less so at the Colorado or at the state level, but can still be the case sometimes. And so diving deeper into our state level, there's actually a lot more bills that are passed and worked on, and it's actually a lot more fluid and working. And here in Colorado, we are lucky in a number of ways. Like every bill allows for public testimony and knowledge, while in other states, you're actually able to do things behind the scenes and without people speaking on it. If you're in one of those states, I am so sorry. I don't necessarily know the solution other than bringing more awareness to that and moving to change that. But for today, we're going to focus here on the Colorado legislature and how policy gets passed and moves through those chambers. So we have 100 representatives, about 60, 65 on the House side, 30 and change on the Senate side, and each of those people gets to present and bring forward around 3 bills of legislature. They work on the bills, they work on the language. There is staff at the legislature that helps them on some of those aspects, along with their campaign staff and maybe other groups they are working with. And then those bills make their way to a committee. So there are a number of committees that a bill can be put on, but if you're working on an environmental bill and you are in the House, your climate bill, depending on if it's agriculture, water, or natural resources, or energy and the environment, will go to one of these 2 committees. We'll just do agriculture, water, or natural resources. And this committee is made up of a select group of those representatives. We see the committee members for this one here. And the website I'm on right now is the ledge.colorado.gov. which has information on all the bills and committees for you to do your own research and explore. But for our example, you write an environmental bill about water. It comes to the committee and presented by the person who sponsored and wrote the bill. Then there is public testimony and expert testimony that bill sponsor can bring in. These are all things that are put on the calendar. So let's see. So they have nothing yet on this committee. Does the Energy Environment have one yet? So yeah, you can see that the other day they heard a number of items. And some committees meet on some days, some it's like a few times per week per committee. And then after these members hear the bill, hear testimony, gather their own research, they will take a vote on if it passes committee. If it fails committee, the bill is, I don't know if trashed is the right word. It is put to the side. You could present it in a future year in a version of it, but for the year it is put to the side. If it passes though, then it moves on up to, since we're in the House committees rather than the Senate committees, it moves to a floor vote for House, and then it moves to a floor vote. Actually, I think then it moves to the Senate committee, passes Senate committee, moves to a floor vote on the Senate, and then all that's left is for the governor to sign it. Some bills also have to go through budget reconciliation, which is we have to be able to, Colorado is interesting in how we collect taxes, and it's based on a formula. So the budget committee has that formula, and as bills come through, get a certain amount of money, and then they get put into the official budget. So what have we learned? What are the key different parts of this? Committees are actually very important. Depending on who's on them, even if it went to the floor, it had a good chance of being passed. Let's say it's like a good governance bill around county commissioners, and how they are chosen. If it went to a floor vote, it's kind of public where everyone stands, and so people take their votes, has a chance to get passed. But depending on who's on the committee, there could be some people that are antagonistic. There can be some people who have their own feelings on the bill, and they can work with the other committee members to make amendments and changes to make the bill more in line with what they want to see. But they can also shelf things. And so committees, in a way, are hugely pivotal because it's a smaller subset of people deciding. And when it comes to how you can make an impact, by emailing representatives and testifying, you can work to build those relationships and share your stories to convince them one way or another, depending on if it's a bill you support or are opposed to. Am I missing anything? All the bills are put on the Colorado Legislature website. You can see there's most accessed or popular bills. The long bill, I think, is like the budget. I don't know what the long bill is. But Roe v. Wade Anniversary Day. January 22nd as Roe v. Wade Anniversary Day. You can go look at the text of the bill, when it was introduced, and votes. Does this tell exactly who voted each way? Yep. And it will often say next steps. So introduce, passed, already good. So let's look at a bill that has not been accessed yet. Status sheets and drill. I don't think this is the right link. We'll go find a bill. And let's look in energy. Any energy bills? All right, so there's a nuclear energy as a clean energy resource. Interesting topic. Is nuclear energy clean? Depends on what you do with the waste, which we really don't know what to do with. But is it better than fossil fuels? And is it safe? These are all questions, and I'm not trying to hammer into this bill right now, but we're using it as an example. And so, it is introduced under consideration and upcoming schedule. So it's going to be brought to Transportation and Energy on January 24th. And if we click on that one, I apparently am denied access. That's weird. It normally just goes to the Transportation and Energy page. It's weird. But we can manually go committees. I believe that was a Senate committee. We can see the people on that committee. Typically representatives on 2 to 3, I want to say, committees, depending, I think, on like seniority and who else is on it. Typically a good mix of both parties. I think you get a fractional amount based on parties. So if the parties were 50-50, actually 50-50 is a weird example, but if it was like 55 Dems, 45 Republican, Dems would typically would have the committee chair, and 55 to 45 is still pretty even, but if it is more like 70 Dems and 30 Republicans, there'd be a lot more Dems on the committee than Republicans. Technically though, the chair gets to decide ties, and so being the party that is the head of the Senate or head of the House is very important that way. Anything else? Ways people can have impact. So let's mix up. Should we put the jazz back on? All right. So how can you get involved in the legislative process? So there's a bill you're passionate about, there's a topic you're passionate about. Almost every year, bills come through a number of topics. You read a bill, you want to support it. First thing you can do is look up who your legislator is. You figure out who your local legislator is based on where they live. There are websites for this that you can just Google. Who is my Colorado legislators? Those are ads. Find my legislator. Okay, so it was on this website. I just didn't know the exact page. I'm not throwing in my address. But you can throw in your address and then you figure out who your legislators are. So, after that, you may email them. You may reach out to tell them your opinion. You can also reach out to try to set up a meeting. depending on who they are, I've had good luck and I've had bad luck. But at the state level, they're much more likely, especially if you live in your district, to take a meeting with you to understand your priorities. They might not agree with those priorities, and they may give you a reason why they are against what you're working on, but often they give you a time and a response. Not always, sometimes they avoid you because they don't like talking to people, but that is a good place to start. Following that, you can take a look at what committees they're on. You see where that bill is going to committee, you see when it's being discussed, you sign up to testify by going in virtually, or you can submit a written email testimony. Our jazz is gonna kick back in. It's on loop. Okay. It's testimony day. You are signed up to talk at your committee, and you you prepare, you dress up because you want to make a good impression. There's actually like technically rules on dress code. Like, I would have to take off this bandana and these headphones. You're not allowed things on your head, no hats. Someone before you walk into the testimony room tells you that. I guess that's if you're there in person. You go to the Colorado State Legislature in Denver, and you walk into the building, you go through security checkpoint, you figure out what the room number is, there's helpful people to help you find it, and you sign up your name on a list to speak. And the speakers, you typically brought up 4 at a time, you sit at a table, you each give 2 to 3 minutes. I think it changes. It can change based on how many people signed up, but I think they have to give you at least 2 minutes. And you speak your piece. Sometimes you can propose amendments, slight changes. Sometimes other legislators will be there in the room to speak on the bill as well. And the people on the committee hear a wide range of opinions and then get to decide themselves if they push it through the process. Now, depending on if you think that's going to go well or not, you can work with lobby groups and organizations to try to put additional pressure on the legislators. Sometimes there's lobby days where groups around, let's say there's a climate lobby day, come together, and there's often trainings for new people. There's often people who've done it for a while helping lead those people in conversations. You try to get some time on the House floors to have a short conversation to bring someone onto your side. And you do your best to share with them why this is important. Now, sometimes they're like super thoughtful and give you back their concerns, and then it gives you this opportunity to dialogue that we have and are lucky to have with our democratic system. If they don't still do what you want, there are these longer term things you can do around politics and elections to try to get someone in a position that will support you, or finding the right politicians who can champion it to get it across the finish line. At that point, you're doing well, you're getting involved, something you're passionate about is about to become a law, and then it goes to the governor's desk. Well, it goes through committees, and then it goes through the House floors, and then if it passes on both the House and the Senate side, and has room in the budget, and then it goes to the governor's desk. And then he either signs it or he doesn't. He, she, but we have a he right now. And then there could be a level of trying to lobby the governor to be on your side if it seems like they might be on the fence. And that's the full political process. Any important steps I am missing? The legislator's day is filled with time, listening to bills on the floor, setting up the feed of the priorities and what's coming through the line. They have their offices where they can take meetings and spend time with different groups and experts. They have their committee time. They have that time where they go home and are probably still cracking away at trying to get something they want passed and calling up their fellow legislators to see if they have each other's back. But from the person's side, there's a few parts where you can have this big impact. You can organize events and actions to have a bigger impact with others. And that's the breakdown. There's many steps to it, but it really just comes down to figuring out what the concerns are of the politicians and working to address them, or working to amend/change the bills to make them more palatable to get passed. And this is a whole infrastructure around this, because policies can move millions of dollars to mental health care, or move it to agriculture, or move it to all different types of places. And is how things progress. Colorado is a great leader. The House and the legislature has to have public testimony on bills, typically quite accessible. And yeah, if you have any questions about that process, you can drop them in the comments and in the chat. I've testified, I have had personal conversations with legislators, I've heard legislators say racist things in those meetings, and tragically, I was not recording the meeting in my pocket. I've had legislators say they will meet with me and have sent me to meet with their aides and their support structure, to then not get a meeting with them later and be ghosted. I've had friends become legislators who are gleefully excited to hear what I have to say and try and want to support me in having that impact. There's a great diversity of people, and it's really cool to kind of see things come through. Political party holds some weight. The leaders of the political party hold some weight into what gets prioritized, and lobbying and whip the vote to have something happening away. And then sometimes there are leaders who, for reasons for the district they live in, or for personal reasons, will still go against that grain. And so it leads to this very fluid process of how things are done. Simple ways people can get involved: mourn wage, meet with politicians, testify, attend a lobby day. I can work on creating a resource that shares the different lobby days, because there's like one Colorado that has their LGBTQ plus lobby day. There's groups like 350 Colorado and Sierra Club that have climate lobby days. And I think those are actually some of the best places to learn, because you're put into groups with experts and given training and given list of bills that have background of information on them that you can read and digest easily. Sometimes bills are easy to digest, sometimes they're actually very complicated, and the name of the game. We'll pause the music for a sec. We're gonna slow it down for just a moment. I think we're gonna move to standing desk mode. We're about halfway through our programming. We're about an hour in. We're chilling with myself right now. We have one viewer. Hello, viewer. Hello. And yeah, we have all right, color legislature and policy, how it works. Cool. We have a few more segments. Let me move to standing desk mode so that I can give my back some love. So let's do this. Perfect. Standing desk for the win. You can kind of even see I was working to put the schedule on my whiteboard, but my whiteboard is not super in frame. I guess maybe it is more now. This is our schedule. Intro, background, predictions, MLK Day. All right. They say all right. Let's plug my phone in. So we're gonna go with this. And then we're gonna go. Perfect. Okay. Let's move it up just a little, because I normally stand like her. Shake it out. Hour in. I'm feeling good. I think this is going well. First one. All up from here. Okay. Midpoint in the show, I'm gonna sneak a little something extra into our calendar because it's an ad and marketing break. What show would be complete without ads and marketing? Which I don't have actually any of right now, but is an aspiration, and so we must have it in the schedule. There is room that as the show grows, there will be a lot of value-aligned organizations, products, and people who want to get out messages, and by outreaching to us, can work to have spots in our streams, in our content. If you're willing to be supportive of this mission and support our growth throughout the state, by being a sponsor, you can help us run ads, bring in support for producing this show, and reciprocally, we can shout you out and share information. Today, this first show, there is no sponsor. The sponsor is me. So, for this sponsor segment, we will be looking at our community-driven group investment page. So let's pull it up. communitydrivengroup.com. And so, if we move back over here, we can showcase this investment page of where we as community driven are working to increase our impact and increase our reach. I've been doing this as a labor of love for a few years and technically took a little break to run for office where it was more put to the side. And now, with a year between that and now, and having worked on things together, have pinpointed a few ways we can grow our impact and bring people together. So if you're here already, you get a sense of the content we're making to break down barriers and make it easier for people to get involved with positive change. In support of that, and if you want to be a part of that journey, we are offering 2 different ways that you can become an early investor. There's the normal way, and on this GoFundMe page, it has more details and goes into how this isn't a normal GoFundMe page because on the back end, we're keeping records so that we can write you into our organization as being a part owner. The payoff for this with dividends, the goal is to get to a point where we can say X% of our revenue, 5% of revenue, 10% of revenue is for dividends. And so get to a point where are able to bring in a wide range of sponsors, are working to fundraise money for our educational courses and selling them, are able to create these educational products like the card game we are working on. And those are just kind of the beginning, and the beginning part, diversifying, growing our voice. Will often, the initial plan is to reinvest into ourselves, but in the long term can be this gift that gives back. Way more details on this page, breakdown into where the money comes from, how to make this a real community effort that donations are actually $2,500 or less that you give, because I really wanted to make sure that regardless of how much you can give, that any small amount could be reciprocated and added into that agreement, but also that just a few people weren't the primary people who, it wasn't a small group of people that got this opportunity. And so information on that, where the money will go, how we plan to use our budget is on this page. And additionally, if you're more strapped and wanting an easier way to get involved, we also have our Work and Help Own program, where you can volunteer your time and expertise to make that same type of investment. And so there's a percentage that, depending on the projects you want to work on, you can reach out and work with us so that you can use time as a resource to be part of this long-term opportunity. And that is our current advertisement segment for today. It is us. It is so funny that we got an additional viewer to our stream literally as we're doing marketing. So that person bailed. Dope. I understand if you walk into something and you hear that they're just like marketing themselves or marketing something, you're like, what is this about? So unfortunate, but that's the vibe. Someone wanted to check it out. We just happen to be manifesting positive change. Where is my chapstick? Hope people have been staying warm. It's been a little bit better these last few days, but that few days under 0 degrees, damn. I saw some friends whose like heaters broke. People got stuck places. Good old winter storm. Okay. We can move on in our agenda now. There. All right. Okay. I'm gonna make a new document really quick. New document. 2024 Colorado Legislature predictions. I'm gonna make that bigger. And then I will share my screen one more time. Whoop. And we'll throw some music back on. We'll keep the vibes good. I need a song that's like okay. That's kind of heavy. Okay. All right, y'all. 2024 here. The Colorado Legislature is in progress. It's been about a week and a half. Probably less than 10 days though with the MLK holiday. Things are moving. And so to start us off, let's make some predictions of how we think we're going to go. Let's take a look at what might happen. Well, maybe we want to happen, but let's make some predictions live. I had this idea while on a walk earlier today, which I thought was a great idea. It's a good first episode. It's a good start of the year thing. I love me some goal setting. I love me some predicting. That said, this is going to be a little bit more improv because I didn't really have a lot of time to predict things this week. It was a new idea. And so we're going to do this live together. What do we think will get passed at the Colorado Legislature? What do we think might get shot down or might be divisive? What is something that will be brought up for political points rather than actually be something that moves its way through the process? We've seen that in the past where even though it's a Democratic majority, Republicans will put as one of their 3 bills, let's say an anti-choice, anti-abortion bill. They know it's not going to pass, but they want to tell their constituents that that's something they're working on. Now, let me move this music down a little bit. Do I think that will happen this year? I feel like it's pretty... I don't think so. I mean, some legislators are very religious, are very, like their district does believe that, and it's easy political points. We're also seeing that even Republican women, though, don't agree with that. And this is an important election year. I I don't know if that's going to happen this year. Do I want to put down as a prediction no Republican bills on this? I mean, I know there is bills around codify it as a right, and I believe that will get passed. So I think it's very unlikely that the opposite will happen. So I will not put that down as a prediction, but as an example, that's an idea. Okay, let's make at least 5 predictions. Let's make a bulleted list. Okay. So what's happening this year is of importance? There's typically water bills, there's environmental bills. Last year we had some research bills that are setting up the dominoes to get the information to make a bill. Our governor and our setup right now is actually, even though Dem is pretty oil and gas friendly, which it's pretty corporation friendly. Like, we're in a weird spot here in Colorado. Because Governor Polis is kind of this like centrist, corporate friendly Dem, rather than as super progressive. And so that trickles down to what comes through the legislature. Because if you think the governor's going to veto something, do you use it as one of your 3 bills? So I guess my first prediction is that Governor Polis vetoes. Governor Polis vetoes. Is that how that's spelled? Vetoes. Vetoes, yep. Those publicly popular progressive bill. And I'm gonna say it has to do with housing. My thinking was either housing or environment, but I think he doesn't seem very jazzed about restructuring the status quo and things that might make developers a little sad. So I'm just gonna go off right at the bat. Say Governor Polis vetoes a publicly popular progressive bill, and I'm gonna say in housing or environmental change. He's done this in the past. He's had he's written op-eds in the past to push public opinion before it even gets to that level. And I'm sorry, Polis, you're doing okay in some spots. You're moving things forward, but you're also not one who likes to rock the boat or step out on things that could really have massive like impact on everyday people. I mean, on some things you do, but I'm just gonna call this one out. This is a prediction. This is my prediction. Stand by it. I'm gonna put that one at the bottom because vetoes happen later in the legislative session. We won't know this till May, June, because even though legislature ends May 8th is the period, bill signing what happens for like a month or two after. So we'll put that one at the bottom. My guess for next prediction for our legislative session, we're gonna say at least six. Oh, not typing in the right spot. At least 6 protests around ceasefire and push for peace in Palestine and Israel. I'm not doing the spelling thing right. In Israel. I mean, they've already showed up different activists to protest, to yell, to get their point across. I think at least once already, and including I think the governor's state of the state address. I don't know if they were inside. I think they were inside as well as outside. At least 6 protests. We're going to ceasefire and push for peace in Palestine and Israel in the Capitol building. All non-violent. And do I think anyone will be arrested? They've arrested people at protests in the past. They haven't been seen to be doing this lately. They tend to just adjourn and then they go to their offices and then they wait for those activists to be walked out. In the past, there was an environmental sunrise movement protest where around 17, 19 people got arrested. But eventually those charges were dropped because just public perception on arresting and then bringing charges to non-violent protesters is just like not popular. And it ushers a lot of support towards the cause. So I don't even think it's necessarily for like the right reasons. It's for like political reasons that no one will be arrested. That said, do I think there will be escalation by the protesters? And not in like a violent way, but in like chaining themselves to certain doors or walking into spaces where they're technically not allowed, which would then push security to arrest them. I think it's very likely, actually. But I think this ties into a different prediction that I did think about earlier while I was on my walk. I think... So there is a bill around the Colorado legislature calling for a ceasefire. So let me see if I can find that, if it's already a public or not. Ceasefire. Because 2 caucuses. Let me go. Can I search by representative? Okay, J. We have a Palestinian representative who has been very vocal about the need for a ceasefire, speaking at events, doing good work on top of the amazing work already doing to do health bills. Okay, so I don't see, I thought let's see, maybe it hasn't been introduced yet. And maybe it's not Iman who's Representative Jode. Should I call them by their first name, last name? I don't know. So what do I think here? What do I think here? Prediction. My prediction is that, and this kind of relates to that one right above, bill calling Colorado to officially back a ceasefire is brought to committee. But do I think it passes committee? I want it to pass committee. And if you're interested in why, Braden, why are you taking that stance on this issue? I have a series called Peace Talks where I go into greater detail about the importance for peace, the need for humanitarian relief, the need to not bomb people. I don't think we should be spending so much on military and bombs and selling bombs to others to use indiscriminately. And I have a whole series called Peace Talks that I work on my YouTube channel to move forward the discussion of peace. Do I think it would get passed though? What committee do I think that would go to? Let's go committees. Health and Human Services, Judiciary, State, Civic, Military, and Veteran Affairs. Probably that one. Education, Transportation, State, Veteran, and Military Affairs. So let's take a look at these committees and who makes them up. Tom Sullivan, James Coleman, Chris Hansen, Larry Liston, Mark Baisley on that one. And on this one, I'm not gonna name them all. I don't think it'll pass a committee. And this is kind of ties into our later segment around MLK Day, but the choices the white liberal makes. And I don't quite understand why why we have supported putting so much money. I mean, I think historically I understand. It's just like morally I don't understand. But historically, Israel is a key part of the Middle East. We don't like having parts of the world where we do not have influence as America. And so, before anyone else might be able to do dirty, mean things like we sometimes do, we like to have allies in certain areas where we've been making enemies. Morally, I don't really understand because it's just like more imperialistic, colonialistic killing, and it's like 3/4 of what our country puts government taxes to. It's technically like 2/3, but is military spending and weapons. Because we have to be the peacekeepers, typically because we're not doing a good job of actually being an ally. Or yeah, we're like destroying socialist leaders for like decades, and yeah, we'll keep the history lessons for another day. I'll circle back to the white liberal and then Republicans. I think Republicans will automatically be against a call for a ceasefire, which leaves these committees have to be on the Democratic side, all on board. And while I see names on here like Elizabeth Epps and Manny Rutinel and the Latino caucus and the African American caucus have both called for a ceasefire, there are on both these lists in the committees white liberals and conservatives who I think do not either have the historical context, the moral leadership, or wanting to make this something that they speak out on, and which will lead to it not. So I will go back to the predictions page. Bill calling Colorado officially back a ceasefire is brought to committee, but does not pass. I don't like it, but I don't know these people well enough to actually make the most informed decision. And I hate that I'm putting a prediction that I am like morally opposed to, but that's the... So I will add this. And we are collectively sad about it. Does not pass due to moderate opposition. And we're collectively sad about it. I just don't know. I don't know what the national level is thinking. Theoretically, I am in my own bubble. But there are just so many groups and so many people and so much energy around this change. If it was any like other issue, it's like, I feel like this, we would see this change. But we are not being leaders, are we? At the politician level, which will mean that if I were to do maybe electoral predictions, we might see change, because you are moderate and you are not doing what a bunch of energized, loving, young and old, actually, peace-loving people want. It's good to get people on record where they fit, which is why I wish it would go past a committee and go to an open floor vote. But in the absence of that, if it goes to a committee, there's gonna be opportunities for that energy to make it so those politicians do not come back. In the primaries in June, so we'll see what happens this year. What are other predictions? Anything that I am seeing? I don't know if I necessarily call it like singular bills. Let's see all bills. Educators, medical devices, school mental health. There's a push for universal healthcare. What if I go back and check out Health and Human Services? Do I think a progressive bill will come through this body? I think it's a possibility. And how about this one? That was Senate. What about this one? Okay. I can see it being contentious. This is a bold prediction. We're gonna get a little extra. We're gonna say Colorado universal health care bill is introduced, and at committee is a tie vote that is decided by committee chair. I'm going to double check really quick that both these committees have even numbers so that I think committees do have even numbers. Chair doesn't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So Colorado Universal Healthcare Bill is introduced, and at committee is a tie vote that is decided by committee chair. Do I know which way they're gonna go? No, I actually don't think I know either of these chairs. That is just a list of members. Health status sheet. I don't even know what that is. I know I clicked on that earlier, but should I mix up the song? It's just on repeat. Should I turn off the music? Live audience, where you at? I want to know what you want. I want to know what you want. You know? We'll mix up the song. Personally, I want a different song. Some of these are. This is a playlist from like a streamer who does chatting content, but also gaming content. So a lot of these songs are kind of gamey. That one's super gamey. Okay. So Color is decided by committee chair, and I don't think I knew that one. Rhonda Fields. I think Rhonda Fields would support it. Isn't Rhonda? Are you pretty progressive? Let's see what you're introducing. Your mobile electronic devices and motor vehicle driving bill. Okay. Ongoing funding for 911 Resource Center. I almost was like 9/11 Resource Center, but no, 911 Resource Center. Community outreach and services, strengthening enforcement of human trafficking. That's important. Behavioral health, first aid training. I don't think I know enough about. We're just gonna say it's decided by committee chair. I don't know which way it's gonna go. My predictions don't have to be full predictions, they can be partial. And I feel like this song is like too happy-go-lucky, too chill for policy. What do you think? I'm making this up as I go, so. I'll leave it. What else? What else? At least one more. Can't do it. Okay. Let's look at committees again. What are the buckets of where bills go? Appropriations, like where budget is, agriculture, water, finance, health and human services, judiciary. I only saw a few clips from Governor Polis's sneeze. I only saw a few clips from Governor Polis's State of the State address. I was actually outside looking at, there's two actions happening outside. There's the state of the climate protest or a rally, and there's also a ceasefire rally outside. And then later on I saw some clips. He was talking about trains and like taxes. I should probably watch the full. And then we also have some funding, I think, from the federal government for environmental things because of the non-partisan infrastructure bill that happened to have some climate funding in there and different infrastructure. So a prediction of mine is public transportation bill is passed with over, I was gonna say $1 million. With over, yeah, let's say with over $1 million going to train and bus programs. People love a good train. I don't actually know if that's true. I like trains. I like buses. I like public transportation. If we had more of it, and if we used it more, there'd be less traffic on the roads. There'd be, I think, less accidents. Less need for cars. There'd be less need for gas. It's really a direction we should be going for the environment. And I'm hoping that our legislators see that. And over $1 million, which really isn't that much when you think about like how much it costs to put down train tracks and create bus stops and buy buses. So let's up that with over $6 million going to train and bus programs. Any other 2024 predictions? Let's take a look at these buckets one more time. And of course, like I could put down as a prediction, it's like 2 environmental bills passed, or health device passed, or pro marijuana bill passed. But I don't know. Well, first of all, those aren't very like targeted, so they're probably not good predictions to be so general. Do I think someone will resign during legislative session? Sometimes for political reasons. This happens like at the end of the legislative session. Well, sometimes for political reasons, people will resign so that someone else, if they're going to run for a different position of office, and then that allows that party to pick someone, put them in that seat, and call them an incumbent for the election that would happen this year. And even though they've worked 0 days, this happens typically at the end of the session, even though they've worked 0 days, they can run their elections calling themselves an incumbent. And sometimes the people I mean, it's so nuanced to think like what is going on there. So I think that's the only prediction maybe I have left. I know of a few specific bills. What's happening in housing? Where would even housing be? Let's see what's happening in education, and let's see what's happening in housing. Let me go. I'm also curious if anything's happening in water, I guess. Education, local government housing, and then this one. Joint Senate extra, da 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 da. So they're meeting. We don't have specific bills. Where I think I have to click on this actually. Wild horse population management timeline. We're bringing back wild horses? That's dope. I mean, I like horses. It's cool. Extend outreach. I mean, we brought back wolves. We can bring back horses. Okay, so not much on that day. I also don't want to do like I feel like an obvious prediction. Education. Just click on a random day. Air conditioning, that's so good. Okay, so some of these, I mean, the session's really just getting going. I only wanted 5. I think I can call it there. Exempt small communities from HOA requirements. Can I just look at bills? Go bills. Can I? State revenue, state government, natural resource environment. Considering a requirement that members of certain state regulatory bodies who are appointed by the governor hold meetings to elicit public engagement. That's important. Stop having backroom conversations and not including people. That makes sense to me. I want to learn about this horses one. There's a biochar study one last year too. The idea there'd be like, how does that work? No? The bill extends to December 31st, 2025, the time in which the Department of Agriculture may implement wild horse population management pursuant to Senate Bill. So it just gives more time to do something that has already passed last year. Or it just gives more time for wild horses to happen. Interesting. Should I do one about filibustering? Should I do one around divisive policy? I don't really know. And we are collectively sad about it. Should I put that? I mean, I'm going to keep it in the text, but it's like, I mean, it's obviously not something you can measure. It's like, who is the collective? That's just the nerdy part of my brain speaking, I guess. There's like things I would want to see happen, but that doesn't make them a prediction. So I think we're good. Nothing else is popping up to me. Again, like I said, this was an idea I had even earlier today, so I haven't had a lot of time to think through what's gone on here. Most of these, but one I just thought up off the top of my head. Oh, let's do this. At least 3 evenings where committee hearings go past midnight. So in Colorado, it is required that there's public testimony on bills. There's like a little leeway into if you give people 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and I think technically they can make it 1 minute, but it's just like very unpopular, so they don't typically do that. But when a bill is super important, and because committees happen at like 2 p.m. or so, it's typically after the morning business, after lunch, and then they come back from their offices and their lunch, and then they're on committee. So it typically starts up around 2. They will sometimes have 2 to 4 things. Maybe they just have a few things on their agenda. But typically, if one of those things is very popular, they move it to the end of the agenda, and they have to give everyone a chance to speak. And if there is 100+ people, and technically it's like only 200 minutes, so technically there needs to be probably like 200+ people sign up to testify, plus breaks, plus conversation about amendments. It is rare, but not impossible, that things go to midnight or 1 a.m. And it's typically, I think the latest I've heard is like 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m., which is claps to the politicians that stay the whole time, because they have to get up the next day at like and be at work again at like 9 a.m. I guess they could technically take like an absence. Do I think there's gonna be 3 bills that are so controversial that they go past midnight? Maybe not 3. Maybe dial it back to 2. Universal healthcare bill, I think, would be one. I think a ceasefire bill, I think that would go late. A Roe v. Wade bill probably go late. So I think 3. And while there could be like a popular housing or environmental bill, I don't think that they could go late, maybe 7, 8, 9 p.m. But I think probably just 3. But we're gonna hedge our bets and say at least 3, because it's my predictions chair, and I'm gonna do what I want. So, and this would be awesome. I'm excited for the part of streaming where I do have an active live audience, because I'm sure you all in the community have predictions about what's gonna happen, and love to hear them, love to throw them in the comments of this video, and we will circle back. But for now, this is our list of what we think is gonna happen. Cool. All right, on to the next section, eh? Let's like shake it up a little. Let's play one of these toony tracks. This doesn't have to, this can be just for our stream. Let's We only have one section left. We've done looking at bills a little bit. We made our predictions. We are going to look at some Martin Luther King posts, comments, and have reflections on the day since that was on Monday. And that is our next segment. Let's just stretch it out a little bit. This next one's serious topic, but doesn't mean we need to hold all of that energy in our bodies. One of the nice things about making content is that this is a nice creative outlet for me to push for these changes and not hold as much of it in. And I think that's what people are doing with these actions and protests, and on top of the push for these changes that will save people's lives and will stop unnecessary death and help people across our state and across the world. And it's an outlet for that because these are very heavy things and the world is hard right now for a lot of people. It gives a place for community. It gives a place for pushing for that future we want to have. And what leader to reflect on for those changes and the long push towards justice than Martin Luther King. One of the greats from pretty much straight through and after his college and after and in his 20s, alongside others, helped lead what at the time was very unpopular civics rights movement. He had a lot to say and a lot of values and a lot of ideas. And to this day, some of those are used by people who are against those values. We can pause the music a little bit because we're getting into what is a very serious topic. These pushes for change don't happen immediately, and they're not popular in the moment. And you would think now, with that historical context, that things that aren't popular in the moment, but are grounded in values and human rights, are in the long term have a legacy of support. And I think we're in one of those movements right now. And so, especially right now, what can we draw on from Martin Luther King to give us hope, to ground us in what needs to happen? And so I can pull up a few posts, but just off the top of my head, Martin Luther King was against militarism, imperialism, capitalism. He wanted, so I think he was a vocal socialist at the very least. Pushed for socialist programs that, regardless of who you were, was there to support you in a more just society, which then ultimately makes the collective more safe, more secure, and more equitable. Now, some quotes get used more than others, and people don't like to think that he was, that he would be against these selling of bombs to, in the attacking of innocents. But I think he would. And I'm happy it's a day in the beginning of the year so we can have this reflection. And it's so poignant right now. So let me take a moment to get some posts together that also help share the sentiment. Give me a moment. My live stream. Okay. Instagrammy. We're gonna get Instagrammy on here. We're gonna Insta-gritty. And I have a saved folder. We're going to go saved. All right, we're at 2 hours. Nice. All posts. Let me bring up Instagram over here too. And so, if you don't know, I also have a series called Peace Talks where I talk about peace. It has been primarily focused right now on the Israel-Palestine conflict. I have episode 3 in the works, and I do want it to grow to be a wider push for peace. There isn't just that conflict happening right now, and we recently saw that U.S. is now bombing ships who stand with Palestine. Not that we've really had a good record. It's like we got pulled into World War II. We did a good job helping with World War II. But before that and since that, our record at the world stage when it comes to military conflict and espionage and killing is not great. I don't love it. I have a huge disconnect of it as a citizen, that our taxpayer money is going there. So much of our taxpayer money is going. But rather than run away, rather than shut myself off from it, I am going to choose to use my voice to make change happen, which is probably one of the most patriotic things you can do. It just can be really hard in the moment. I work hard to have some life balance and have outlets so that I can sleep well. Part of that's because I'm so informed. Part of that is because I am super empathetic. And it is hard for me to see some of these things. But I'm also not averting my gaze, which some people tended to, and some people try to greenwash, whitewash, USA wash, and point a finger to the negatives that other people are doing without looking in the mirror of how we're impacting the world. And on the flip side, what the world could look like if we took a stronger stance for peace and building infrastructure and diplomacy over being the country in the world that's spending magnitudes more on weapons than others. And at a certain point, some of these politicians who have been in the game for decades, you just have to consider that if they don't want to realize and confront that, they are projecting their fear of, if we de-escalate, that other countries will attack or take advantage of that. I think that is 100% a projection. Maybe not 100%. It is at least 72% a projection. And we're really not having, I think, debates on this. Some people are, but some people are fine letting propagandists and liars again and again go on television, and it's not good. I'll circle back to, I have some MLK posts I want to share. Okay. Policy show, I have 1, 2 posts and a video. I wanted to grab some more stuff together. And I want to do a deeper dive into what the responses are from all elected officials. So one of my goals for this week is, I have a spreadsheet that has politicians' names on it and their email addresses. And I want to expand that to include their social media accounts, um, their political parties, and then maybe their like website, because it'd be really cool to, on a holiday or an event or for a policy, see exactly what everyone's saying. Right now, I only follow some politicians. I've only, because if I know them, because of something they've done that I thought brought a lot of value. 100 people is a lot of people to track. And while I don't have a production team to help me sort this stuff right now, which is a long-term goal. Right now, we are going to look at a few posts. So we're going to open that in a new tab. We're going to open that in a new tab. And we're going to open that in a new tab. And we're going to move those into their own into their own browser. Here, we'll do this actually. Boop. Boop. I think this one, which is also that one. Perfect. Okay. And we'll switch back to screen share. Hello. Okay. First post from United We Dream. And this is from Martin Luther King Day, which was on Monday, which was the 15th, if I'm doing quick math. So 18th Thursday, 17th Wednesday, 16th Tuesday, 15th. Yeah, 15th. Right. Today we honor and celebrate the icon, the legend, Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King was an organizer, an activist, and a leader that envisioned a world without militarization, where taking care of each other is a priority. And we know this world is possible as we have seen communities nationwide welcome immigrants with love. So, besties, let us honor MLK's legacy by fighting for a free Palestine, the end of borders, and resources for asylum seekers and all immigrants. And the quote is, "A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death." And even if some of these ideas, like the end of borders and helping to support all immigrants, which these are just human rights things, and if we push for a more secure, more abundant world, these things wouldn't be as big of an issue, and we did less destabilizing. But spiritual death, right now we're in this fight where there's people who pushing for this versus the greedy, those who honestly don't know how they do some of their mental spiritual gymnastics. It's like, even like Jesus, who grew up and was like Palestinian. Like Palestinian is that like region between like where like Africa becomes like Europe and the Middle East. That's kind of where that word comes from. If you look back like thousands of years to some of the first writings, sure there was some like Christian and Jewish groups and kingdoms throughout time. It's more like city-states, but religions now like to be like, hey, we had those city-states, which were technically next to other city-states of different religions, but we're going to say we have claim over this land. We're in this fight for the future, for spiritual health, for fairness, for equity. And I do believe in the quote that the curve moves towards justice, even if it does not go as fast as we want, which is a really bad butchering of what the actual MLK quote is. The curve towards justice is okay. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I think we're seeing that. Like, we've seen that in peace movements. We've seen that over and over again, and only because I think the internet, are we at a point where some of these things that have been removed from us here in America and around the world that we're able to see and connect and empathize. So we're in this unique time where the internet has led to a lot of division and still does in some places, but gives us the insight to move the arc towards justice. And we just happen to be within the thralls of that. And I guess just a push to be resilient and keep up momentum, because you never know how choices impact others and then have that cascading effect. But things can be heavy sometimes, man. Man, woman, person. All right. Next one. This is a post from Sunrise Movement. The last one was from United We Dream. There was actually a bunch tonight, and maybe I should pull up. Did I have one saved of MLK family members 2024 posts? MLK family members on Instagram. Bernice King. Okay, there's a few. Okay. All right. So I'll pull up some family members' posts. Let's see what they said. Let me just move on to this one. We'll do them in order that I have them up. Okay, this one says, many know MLK for being a peaceful, nonviolent leader. What they do not know is his damning criticism of prioritizing profits over social services in the wealthiest nation in the world. He would be appalled at the state of the USA today. Overhauling. I was just checking an audio setting. Okay, sorry. ADHD. I had worries for a second because I have a microphone set up and then I have my camera plugged in. This is a tangent, but this is a stream. I can edit this out of a video. Tangent time. I have a camera and I have a microphone. If I don't turn off my camera audio, I get echo. So every time I make a video, or every time I stream and record to my computer, I have to turn off my camera so that I just get the microphone and there's no echo. But whenever I do a personal video that isn't through my computer, I have to turn my audio back on. My ADHD forgot for a second and saw my camera and was like, oh, did I forget to do the thing? And I also forgot that I had actually checked audio levels earlier. Tangent done. Back to post. All right, post by Sunrise Movement. Let me read it. Many know MLK for being a peaceful, nonviolent leader. What they do not know is his damning criticism of prioritizing profits over social services in the wealthiest nation in the world. Preach. He would be appalled at the state of the USA today. Overhauling our society will require mass movements who are willing to radically reimagine the world and fight to make that a vision a reality. It will require each of us to make the lifelong commitment to organizing in the face of injustice and to show hope in the face of despair. The evils of capitalism are as real as the evils of militarism and racism. The problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power. Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a better person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in. He got like the best quotes, man. Okay. And then this next post is a speech at the Colorado State Legislature. We will refresh it so we can start from the beginning. And I will make sure that my audio is doing well. Okay.
Wanted to ground. I'm a teacher, so let me teach you some things about Dr. King. A lot of people forget that Dr. King graduated high school when he was 15 years old, graduates from Morehouse College when he's 19 years old, gets his doctorate from Boston University when he's 26 years old, the same age that I am today. And I ground us in that because young people fighting for social change have been a part of our country's fabric for a long time. It is right after he gets his doctorate in Boston that he goes down to Birmingham in December and begins organizing against an institution that is implementing segregation. Martin Luther King's politics, oftentimes while they are lauded today, are important to ground in what they actually showed up as. Martin Luther King Jr. believed, yes, in the right to vote, but he believed in voting power first to get to the eventual place of economic power for all people. What I am saying and what I think is important to address directly is Martin Luther King Jr. believed in socialism. This is not a radical idea. Martin Luther King's direct quote says that it is not that we don't have socialism in this country. It is that we have socialism for folks who are rich and wealthy, who have fully funded communities and schools. But folks in my neighborhood in the north and west side of Denver, in Aurora and Greeley and Pueblo are still suffering from what Dr. King calls the rugged individualism of the poor. But I wanted to ground. I'm a teacher.
And I think he goes on. This I think is shorter because of shorts. Let me see if I can find the original one that the first time I saw it, which no longer Twitter with X. Do I just type in x.com? Can I just X? It does go. That is the first time I did that instead of Twitter. Save posts. And it's interesting that the person who shared the longer version, because this one's shorter, that has no personal information, right? Yeah, he is criticizing it, but let's watch it one more time.
Gets his doctorate from Boston University when he's 26 years old. The times while they are lauded today are important to ground in what they actually showed up as. Martin Luther King Jr. believed, yes, in the right to vote, but he believed in voting power first to get to the eventual place of economic power for all people. What I am saying and what I think is important to address directly is Martin Luther King Jr. believed in socialism. This is not a radical idea. Martin Luther King's direct quote says that it is not that we don't have socialism in this country. It is that we have socialism for folks who are rich and wealthy, who have fully funded communities and schools. But folks in my neighborhood in the north and west side of Denver, in Aurora and Greeley and Pueblo are still suffering from what Dr. King calls the rugged individualism of the poor.
And we saw this a bit with COVID, where trillions of dollars went to businesses and organizations. I mean, we see this in a number of different places. Socialism for the wealthy, and I think this is something that Bernie in 2020 started using as part of his messaging. And I'm surprised hasn't caught on more, is that we have socialism for the rich and wealthy, but not for the everyday person.
I like many up here, like many of us here today, stand in solidarity with the philosophies of Dr. King because I here fight for the poor. I fight for the oppressed. I fight for the downtrodden. I fight for the dejected. Our job in here, now that we already have the voting power of people that everybody is guaranteed a vote, is to enact the second part of Martin Luther King's philosophies, which is to create the conditions of economic power to shed the shackles of an unjust past that has enacted oppression. And that is important to remember, that is often not a popular struggle. That is not something that many people will be willing to stand with us as we navigate it. And it is important to remember that that was the same thing for Dr. King. We celebrate him today, but the day that Martin Luther King died, he didn't have no federal holiday. Martin Luther King's approval rating was below 50% on the day that he died. Our struggle for justice might not be popular, but it is just. One of the reasons why Martin Luther King's philosophies were so unpopular is because he called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Vietnam. I'm so proud to stand today as a member of the Latino caucus. I'm so proud of my caucus for standing in solidarity with the oppressed and calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza today. Thank you.
Yeah. And we don't have to look at the comments there.
Representative Hernandez.
Let's go here.
Good morning to the...
And we're back to here. And then on this screen, I now have this post by a group post by family members, I think. It says, as we observe the New Year and the 95th birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., it is our heartfelt prayer that 2024 will see a restoration of sanity and humanity in American policy, where plans for peace replace attacks for war, ushering in a new day of brotherhood and sisterhood where equity, justice, and peace are a reality for all, encapsulating the great unity of which we are all included because each of us are the dreams of the dreamer. Love is, love wins. And that's an official family member post. I have another one. Hello, Tim. You can close that one. Close some of these. Back to that. Close that. We're almost done here. What was I doing? There's that family post. And then we have this perned post from Bernice A. King. Oh, okay. Yep. Nope. Okay. It's midnight in the Middle East, and this one was this was months ago. But still relevant to a conversation. Family members. What are their takes on things? It's midnight in the Middle East and in the world as Palestinians endure death and devastation, now including a near total cellular and internet blackout resulting from Israel's strikes, and as people weep for loved ones in Israel who are taken hostage or killed by Hamas, as I mourn the unconscionable disregard for humanity and appeal for the release of all hostages, I once again passionately urge a ceasefire and immediate deployment to Gaza of additional crucial life-saving supplies at the scale needed. We cannot wait. And let's see. This is one 4 days ago. On his 91st birthday, I wanted to share some color photos of Daddy. It wasn't long ago. It wasn't that long ago. Taken too soon. And then there's an official page. Let me just make sure this is the right one. Official ML King 3. Okay, this is the son. Global human rights activist, co-founder. And then The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Which is, and then this was the birthday post, and there was at a game they did the coin flip, so that's why there's like football posts. But this is, I think, where we are right now, in another chapter, unfortunately, of U.S. and world history, where we are seeing what people and groups are willing to push through discomfort for peace and human rights, and who is on the fence and not taking a stance. And it's both inspiring to see who is saying things, and at least within some of my social circles, there's just wide amount of support. But also on the opposite side, frustrating those who are not saying or doing anything. I mean, if you're not on record at this point, it's been October, November, December, and we're 19 days into January, 4 months in, and maybe this is hard for people to understand. They don't have the historical context. They don't, which at this point is like, you're just not carving out the time, which I guess, I mean, it's a heavy topic, and I understand a lot of people disengage if they feel powerless or that their voice doesn't matter, but I want to say that your voice does matter, and there is a path through learning and community where we can make peace happen. MLK Day, Martin Luther King Day. This is front and center. And I think we'll only continue the push for peace to be front and center. I think the nonviolent organizing will only continue and escalate. And I just can't get over how much we are putting into bombs and death over healthcare. And I mean, even Israel has universal healthcare, and we help fund their healthcare, but we won't give it to ourselves. And I think it's because we just let money powers have way too much influence. Pretty obvious where to stand on things. And so, I mean, one of the reasons I wear this sweater today, Invictus, means unconquered, unbroken. It this I think it comes from a poem, Unconquerable or Undefeated. Invictus was a poem by William Ernest Henley in 1875. It was a poem frequently recited by Nelson Mandela. And it's a good reminder to be true to my own voice and my own push. And I felt for this first episode, I might not be in a suit or look a certain way. And that's a whole nother ordeal of me pushing past people pleasing and believing there is a certain way to look that isn't just me wanting to express myself, but it's a reminder and grounding feeling in my push for solidarity, in my push to continue on. And I felt like wearing it today. And this thing is just stylish and keeps me warm. So, and it matched. So, you know, that's how we're doing today. All right, we're wrapping it up. next Friday, see ya here. I don't know if it'll be as long. I'm working throughout I have a daytime job. And then I am working to send emails and make this show more collaborative. If there's a policy or bill that is important to you, and if you're an everyday person, if you're a politician, we have our outreach email on here. I just want to make sure it was not covered up by my face. It's outreach@communitydriven.group. I can do this, and I can also just so there are only so many like perspectives and conversations in a given week that I can be privy to, and I am pretty plugged in with different nonprofits and follow a wide range of politicians here in Colorado, but I definitely have blind spots. My angle, if we're returning back to the show's name, might be large, but there is still space that I am missing that others can help cover and showcase perspective to. And together, angles make shapes, and shapes are multi-dimensional, and there's probably some additional ways I can try to be clever with the name of the show. All to say, we're looking at making this more and more a collaborative community show. We had a few people tune in live, but not stay for long. And then the nice thing about these videos is they are live on the internet and can be watched later. We will make these into smaller videos as well, so that doing what we can to continue to bring people together. Because I think these policies and these government changes can impact your lives. Maybe not immediately, but in the medium to long term, some of the biggest things that could change people's lives, from healthcare to a livable climate future to property tax relief to rental assistance and housing the unhoused. These are things that need to be done at the government level. As far as I know, there isn't a lot of media and back and forth discussion getting into the nuances, getting into the gritty details. And if I can spend some time on Fridays to make that happen, and some time throughout my weeks to support those efforts, then I think I'm doing good. Then I'm doing good, and I'm trying to do good. So that's kind of where we are. We have Fridays starting at 5:30 on YouTube. If you follow us on Facebook, we do a pre-show starting at 5 for about 20 minutes before we jump into this one. And depending on the week, it'll be different lengths. On our YouTube channel, which is where you're at right now, likely, unless I am cutting this up somewhere later, we have other video series, past streams, other forms of content, from talking about peace to talking about climate change and talking about our organization and what we are pushing to do. And working on making community resource tools. I should have done this probably big screen. I should have done this big screen because it'd be easier to chop this up later. All right, well, let me know your thoughts on this first show in the comments. I think it went pretty smooth. I got choked up almost a few times there. I don't know if you caught that. Yeah, I'll have to look at this again in post-production. Maybe in the videos I cut it up a little bit. But thank you for watching. Stay tuned. On Fridays at 5:30, we do The Angles, which covers Colorado policy and helps break down barriers to getting more involved and passing these political changes that will have an impact in your life. It might not help immediately, but in the medium to long term, things like healthcare, things like a livable climate future, things like property tax relief and housing the unhoused, and assistance and programs for students and renters. These things are changed at the government level, if we like it or not. And if you're not involved in politics, you're technically still on the menu. And so this is a big push to create content that breaks down barriers for engagement, gives additional perspectives, and it's meant to be a collaborative show. So if you have ideas, feel free to send them our way. We're happy to get people involved. We're happy to hear from a wide range of perspectives and excited for where this is going to go. My name is Braden Miguel. This is the Community Driven Group channel, and this is our first The Angles Colorado Policy podcast show. There's video. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. See you next Friday. End stream.